Indeed, we are taking the hope pill. We are not taking the doom pill today. And to that end, we, good friends, are now going to talk about Barbie. Now, I am not super clued into what Barbie is doing these days or like what's a big deal about Barbie. Like the last time I think I've really interacted with like Barbie related media was like that one Simpsons episode where Lisa is trying to get like an inspirational woman figure to be turned into a Barbie doll. Um so I was a bit surprised when scrolling Twitter. Hello, Atlee Rocks. You came in at a strange time. But I was a bit confused when scrolling through Twitter, and I found a tweetess by the name of um, let me see here, where is it? Yes, by the name of at Fenty Tannies on Twitter, who stated that now why is Barbie spittin' facts? So I was curious, and I looked into it, and boy howdy, Barbie spits fucking fire facts, guys. So let's take a look.
Hey everybody.
Hey everyone.
So there is a huge movement going on. People, millions of people across the world are standing up to fight against racism. And they're doing this because too often and for such a long time, people have been treated unfairly. And in some cases, even hurt by others because of the color of their skin. This stuff isn't
True.
easy to talk about, which is exactly why we have to talk about it.
It's a tough conversation, but I'm glad we're having it. People might think that my life looks fine, but the truth is I and so many other Black people have to deal with racism all the time. It's really hurtful and it can be scary and sad, and I wanted to share some stories about that today. Barbie and I had a sticker selling contest on the beach last month. We split up and went
As
different
one
directions
does.
to see who could sell the most. Well, while I was on the boardwalk, beach security stopped me 3 times.
What?
They asked me all these questions over and over, and they even called my mom. I never told you, but that's why I sold a few stickers that day. The security officers thought I was doing something bad, even though I was doing exactly what you were doing. And remember when we were going to join that French honor club at school?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I made a perfect score on the entrance test, but when the teacher, who didn't know me at all, gave me my results, he told me I only did well because I got lucky. He said he knew I couldn't speak French that well.
What? You speak French better than all of us. Why didn't you just stay in the club and prove him wrong?
I don't want to have to constantly prove and reprove myself. He supported you right from the beginning and didn't support me. Usually when I talk about these things, people make excuses. They say things like, oh, well, maybe you should have had a permit for selling on the beach. But those are just excuses. People did these things to me because I was Black and they made the wrong assumptions about me.
Fucking
And they
based.
don't make those assumptions about white people like me.
Fucking
Not fair.
based.
Because that
Barbie's
means
talking
that
about white
people get
privilege,
an
y'all.
advantage that they didn't earn, and Black people get a disadvantage that they don't deserve.
Exactly. It's really serious. Some people even get hurt when others think the wrong things about them. That's exactly why people are marching. Because when enough of us stand together, people pay attention.
Right. Because when we don't say anything, we're just letting it continue.
Well, you listening and being supportive, that's helpful. It's important to keep reading and learning more about Black history. And if someone is being treated unfairly, stand up for that person. If we all work together, we can make a big difference.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this with me today. With us.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's necessary.
Comrade Barbie, y'all. Comrade Barbie up here talking about white privilege, talking about all kinds of topics that are hitting on like race, talking about solidarity, like just this close, like this close to talking about how like if the workers of the world unite, we too can take on the forces of capital. Just wonderful, wonderful. I'm here for this. I love Comrade Barbie so much. And also, clearly Barbie is a gamer. Like, if you take a look at that keyboard, it looks custom made, has like cool designs on it. Very clearly, she's a gamer. Um, and also, this is like a really good story. Not only did they give one example in this, they gave two examples. The sticker selling story and the French teacher story, and both of those are really good examples of racism coming both from individuals but also from institutional powers. So, like, uh, Lady Starfire, thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate you very much. Um, but also coming from the perspectives of like butting up against these institutional power structures. Like, she got questioned by the police for trying to sell stickers. She got questioned by the police in this story. And like, what was she supposed to do? Right? Like, if the police had decided to escalate that situation, there would have been nothing that she could have done, really, other than just take it and live to fight another day. Um, and then she talks about how her teacher, her French teacher, basically didn't think that she was capable of achieving as much, despite her being the top performing student in the class. And that dissuaded her from participation in like that extracurricular activity. And like, that's an example of how racism has this cooling effect and actually hurts the wider community because it pushes people who would otherwise be qualified and enthusiastic and passionate about different subjects out of those fields. Because why put up with that when you can go do something else where someone isn't constantly questioning your ability? So, like, in that video, we're seeing so many different kinds of things, and the fact that it is being accurately diagnosed as racism and being called out as such is pretty incredible. Because usually cartoons are a little bit more vague. Like, they'll talk about like, oh yeah, that was bigotry, but they won't go into like specifics about why. Jack Saint has a really good video about propaganda. And in it, he talks about how there's an episode of the animated RoboCop television show where people are suddenly racist against RoboCop for being a robot. Like, this is way better than that. Like, this is miles better than anything I saw in a cartoon when I was growing up. Yeah, you do have to wonder, Gringo Nut, if they have people of color actually writing these. I would have to imagine so. It seemed pretty on point for this. Yeah, so you have Barbie talking about how then that she, because her friend, who is more qualified and who happens to be black, got pushed out of this French club, she is in effect being held up as the top achiever in the class, and getting all the support and resources from that teacher that she needs to succeed. And she recognizes that that is a privilege that she didn't earn, and that her friend, who was achieving more than her, is being pushed out and is being given a disadvantage that she didn't deserve. Which right there is basically white privilege in a nutshell. Because white privilege is both the empowerment of white people, the additional social privileges that whiteness brings with it, as well as the disempowerment of black people, because it means that black people, brown people are not being given the same advantages. So they are put at a disadvantage because of white privilege. I was watching Richard Wolff, by the way. Great economist, has a lot of really based takes about socialism, and is an economist, so he knows a lot about the economy. Highly recommend you check him out over at Democracy at Work. It's a YouTube channel. But he had a really great way of kind of putting this into perspective as well. White privilege is essentially, you know how a lot of conservatives complain about affirmative action? Well, white privilege is essentially affirmative action for white men. Like that's what it is, right? And like for centuries we have had that, where white men have been given priority in jobs and education over every other group. And so when we're talking about affirmative action, the reason we have that is to counteract the racially based affirmative action that has become ingrained in our society. So there we go. I really like his economic update videos. Check those out specifically. They're really good. A lot of really interesting interviews on there as well. Red pill theory, white men have also been the backbone and structure of society. Well, that might be true to an extent, but only because other men, other races, genders, etc., have been kept out of mainstream society in a myriad of different ways. So, like, claiming that they're the backbone of society is just kind of proving my point in that regard. So, yeah, based Barbie talking about white privilege. I appreciated that very much. That was a good video.